right, it says on air. We'll count to 5.
Probably set it up, maybe. You're good. Jeff, you're good.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's stand for a moment of silence and the pledge. And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call today's meeting to order, and I'd like to have a motion to go into closed session.
Yeah, well, before that, a couple of comments.
Would you, go ahead. You want to do commissioner comments?
Well, yeah, because I want to comment on a couple of these here before we go into closed session. Because I sent an email out last night. I actually sent it twice to Kirk. I haven't got an answer yet. Are we meeting Tuesday or not?
I answered you, Terry, and I said that we
When did
would
you
discuss that this morning, immediately after you sent the email.
Last night?
Yes, sir.
As I did.
And I sent it out again at 8:45 last night.
You responded, you asked, are we meeting Tuesday at 5:38, and he immediately responded, we're discussing that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find his response.
I responded at 6:02 p.m.
Okay, well, and Kirk, I'm just telling you, I didn't receive it, and I'm going to double check.
That's fine.
Any other comments? Take a motion for
Well,
closed
yeah,
session.
another couple of other comments here. I know we're going to be talking about some of these topics that we're going to be discussing here in closed session. This is not what I thought we were coming to closed session for, some of the things that are on here. When you sent me your email on Thursday, you had, I think, 3 areas that you wanted to discuss, and there's much more than that, than those 3 areas on here. So that was kind of a concern for me.
You were sent out a full, but Rachel sent
Yeah, I
out
got that
the
yesterday.
full thing that was on there.
Yeah, but that's not when you ask us about meeting today, you gave us 3
Well, I
specific
was waiting
areas.
for the topics to be developed, and
Some of the things on here, we've already discussed, we're just discussing them again, but anyhow, there were just a couple comments. I wanted-
any other comments before I?
No, I think the reason we decided to meet today was to discuss certain actions that we might take pertaining to the virus situation that we're dealing with right now, the COVID-19. There's a lot of items on here that I don't think necessarily need to be discussed. First of all, in closed session, least of all, the county administrator interview process can certainly be open session. I think that should be open session.
That is a personnel process. It's clearly appropriate for closed session.
I think we should take a very open process about it, Kirk. We can.
I think that we were going to receive names of applicants, so that would qualify, but it
That's
not.
absolutely correct.
Yeah, and if you want to do the process.
It's not about the
open,
names, it's about how the process works. And I think how the process works should be discussed in open session.
Yeah, well, part of it is.
I think it was already discussed the direction that we wanted to take.
Yeah, and
That was
I'm not in
the direction that
opposition to
was
but
ordered.
if we would look at the names today to see the applicants, that would.
It's still, we should have had a meeting before things have transpired to the extent that they've transpired.
Let me make a comment. You know, I've been in here every day watching this staff and our emergency response team from all walks of the community. And you know what? We had a press release. We had a state of emergency declaration, and I didn't see either of you here.
And I've honored them all. I've honored everything that's
Understand.
been presented to me.
There's nobody, so I fully support this closed meeting because the government, seems like we want the government to stand still. We're in here right now. Hey, guys, let me talk and you can rebuke. You can, yeah, Wayne, do you think a handful of citizens in this county in the middle of this crisis really cares about your political view on this? We are here, openness, there's that transparency word. We are here because our staff needs us. They said just this morning, we need to know what you guys think. Let me finish, then you can talk all you want. It's like, what is the deal with you guys? We're here trying to do the best for the community, in here supporting our people, making decisions so this government doesn't stand still. We're the leaders. We're elected. They want our input. You know, I'm not here for a political reason. I'm here to keep this government moving.
Just standing in front of a camera, Randy, there's more to leadership than that.
Well, yeah, then you ought to take that advice and take it home with you, because it seems like every statement you make is political. This is not about political. We're worried about the citizens. We're worried about how they're going to make a living. They're not working. You know, it's
I'm here to discuss those issues, Randy. I'm here to discuss those issues, and that's the reason this meeting was called, because that's what's important.
this everything on this agenda for this closed session is important. It affects the employees of the county.
There's some things that could be discussed.
It affects Dave Hayes, our is going to come in and address this. There's a whole lot here pertains to the citizens. That's what I was elected for.
You're missing the point. You're trying to make this.
No, I have to agree with Randy. You're missing the point. A lot of these items, according to our attorneys, are closed session items.
Again, do you think a handful of citizens of 150,000 really care?
Commissioner Milo Schmidt, would you like
They're
to
worried
join
about
in?
their own livelihood.
Call for a motion shortly.
No, I would like
Closed
to
session.
chime in. So I think that we're here to discuss those, I'll say, 2 topics and probably more on the coronavirus, maybe 3 with that. At that same time, if we are here meeting and giving exposure to everybody else having more people, why would we not take the time and have one meeting to get some of these other things done? Now, the county administrator interview process, if we are discussing just the process on how it goes, I have no problem doing that in open session. That is perfectly fine and legitimate. But as soon as we talk about one individual's name, then that, as you know, should be done in closed session.
That's the point I'm making.
And so that is what I'm working on. But if we are going to sit here and have a meeting today, I think if we're looking at the exposure, let's get as much done as we can so that we don't have to have another meeting, so that we can sit there and limit the exposure not only to us, but all of our other employees that are here. Because we all live in different parts of the community. We all have different risk levels. I've got kids. So there's different things that we need to look at, and let's make sure that we're taking care of every citizen possible. And having the fewest meetings, I think, is going to be the best way to do that. If we meet Friday, today, and we do these 2 things, and then we come back on Tuesday, and we have to have another meeting, isn't that just a waste of it? That's what we need to be looking at. Let's have government be as efficient as possible.
And that was, go ahead. And that was my question about the Tuesday meeting. You know, some of these things on here are next Tuesday's meetings items if we were to meet next Tuesday.
I understand why you don't want some of these issues discussed in open session. I think some should be discussed in open session. That's the point I'm trying to drive home. You're right, we're here. Let's talk about it in open session. Why not have some of these agenda items as open session items?
If we want to talk about
See that we're doing business.
If we want to talk about the interview process, I'm fine with that. Other than that, I do not know of anything else in here that should be discussed in open session. If we want to talk about the interview process, how we're doing it, I'm fine with that. But once we bring out an individual's name, as you all know, we can no longer do that in open session. So I'm fine if we want to move that county administrator's interview process here, and then if we have to talk about a name, move it in there and finish it. I'm fine with it. If we want to take 30 seconds to discuss how we're doing that process.
Yeah, and Rachel could outline it like she already did. Here's the 3 or 4 steps. We're done.
Other than that, I do believe everything here needs to be done in closed session. Do you not disagree?
All right,
Depends on if we're having a meeting Tuesday or not.
Vince could say no. It's a day, if you've
I would
been
s-
in here to see how things are
And
changing.
there,
by
and
the
there
hour.
should, and maybe what we should have is and this is just for future. Before we go into closed session, maybe we should have a commissioner comment period in there before we go into closed session in case there are some
We're kind of
comments.
doing it right now.
I know, but because I don't think there's, and maybe it's going to fall under one of the later categories, but I think we should be discussing things, people are out of work.
That's exactly what we're going to
And we
discuss.
should be
Dave Hayes is
discussing
going to
some
come in.
things about
I'm gonna have to
real
decide
estate
with our
taxes that
legal
are
team
due,
that these are
fines,
Closed session items. That's my-
permits, inspections. There's all kinds of things that we could be.
That's what our staff's going to come in and tell us.
So,
Okay, any more comments
But
for?
Randy, for you to say that we're making it political, all we're doing is we're trying to do what we think's right. You're trying to do what you think's right.
I won't disagree with that, but
Okay,
I
so-
think we're here for one reason,
Don't
keep the government
I take
moving.
offense when you say that I'm here.
I
for-
take offense when you say we're taking advantage of a crisis. Somebody said that.
Well,
Randy, I think it's.
jobs
what's
should not be
unfortunate is you
part-
think just because we're not in front of a camera talking doesn't mean we're not working. I've worked with the Commission on Aging to secure a grant for the Meals on Wheels program,
With all the commissioners' support of it, you don't get
I
the,
don't think it got
is that, you
commissioner
mean
support, it's something I brought
you're
here.
waving a
And
flag that you did
No,
something?
he just said he's working on it.
I worked on it.
He's
Did I not
already
bring
got the
it?
approval,
Yeah,
and I think all the
maybe-
commissioners as
Because I brought it
a team are gonna approve
Give
it.
him a chance to bring it
forward.
forward.
I don't do my work
Well,
all in
this-
front of the
this is
camera
about
doesn't-
team.
Can I talk, please?
Well, I don't agree with what you're saying.
Well, Jeff, I
I
think we're all guilty of, I think we're all guilty of doing
To
something.
the board, Jeff.
Well, this
That
takes
was not in front of the
my
camera.
point
So
is
just
this,
because it wasn't in front of the camera
this-
doesn't mean it didn't happen.
this takes a
That's
team.
what I'm trying to say.
Well, you're not,
I was responding to what Commissioner Wagner
But
said,
it-
that we weren't here working or doing anything this week.
I
because we
think
weren't
you
in front
should
of
have
the
maybe
camera.
come in here to see how the setup and everything was being done, because your absence was.
I was told by staff not long ago that they look for us if we're okay with everything. They look to us. That's our job.
Another thing, the Department of Social Services is offering a cash assistance grant. That's something that I hope get information out to our municipalities through the Washington County chapter of the Maryland Municipal.
maybe
I
we-
just want to make clear, just because I'm not in front of a camera doesn't mean.
Well, you're in front of a camera now, and I think that's the reason. But the bottom line is, I think we all try to do our job, but the bottom line is, we're worried about a crisis right now. You're doing everything but worrying about that, it seems like.
Take offense to that.
It's not worrying about a crisis,
Right,
it's asking why things can't be done in open session.
Did you not just say, take advantage of a crisis? You think we are? If that's a bad statement to make, Wayne.
Why can't we discuss some things in open session?
And,
Is what I can say.
Sorry, first of all, I think we need to stop doing this. I think the argument is not good. It's not showing good leadership in front of the people of Washington County. But second of all, is just a little bit ago, I asked what other things besides the county administrator's interview process should be discussed in open
Or,
session.
again, we've already put a process in place. It's already been extremely violated. Extremely violated. Everything that because you know what the direction was given, and you know what we were trying to avoid. And all of a sudden, it's already in that direction.
I don't understand what you're
Well,
saying at all.
think about
And
it.
say-
Okay, so we
Just
did
tell
not
me.
want HR involved in the process because of confidentiality. We said that in closed session. So I don't know who gave, well, I do know who gave the direction for it to move forward as it's moving forward.
Nothing's moved forward.
It has.
Let's move forward.
Who's got the applications? Where were the applications supposed to remain? We sat there and discussed all of that. And now here we are, everything is just already, and I really don't want to go into names and all of that. So, I mean, it's just really upsetting. At least the county commissioners could have had a call to a meeting and said, hey, how can we move forward? How would you?
Sure, having trouble getting called to a
I
meeting.
think that's what they're trying to do now because situations have changed.
Yeah, I mean,
But they they should have not gone the direction that they've gone to this point. That's all I'm saying. You can't disagree with that.
No,
You can't disagree with that. You know what we all five agreed to.
correct. And there's been other things.
You know what all five, then we should have been called to a meeting and said, hey, this is the new.
and you know we can't defend that right now, Terry, because we can't speak in open session, but I'm telling you right now, things change daily.
Topic in a public meeting.
Well, you just said we're going to talk about that in open session. We just said we're going to talk about that in open session.
Hold on, Terry. There's also been other things in open session that all five of us, or closed session, all five of us agreed on. And then when we actually went to do it, I was the only one that said, hey, then this isn't this what we said, and aren't we going to do this? And then all of a sudden, I don't want to do that. Talking about it.
But that wasn't in open session.
No, but we talked about
But that-
if we
But we
voted.
still had the opportunity.
I'm talking.
I'm sorry.
We voted in closed session that 2 commissioners should be on an interview process. We voted on that because everybody wanted to be done that way. And then a couple weeks later, everyone here forgot about that and said, nope, let's just do it this way. So what's the difference? You guys changed your mind
The
anyway.
difference is we all had an opportunity to involve our input.
That's what I think
This
we're trying to
process,
do
the way
now.
it's advanced to this point, we have not all had an
That's what I think we're
opportunity
trying to do now.
before it moved forward in a new direction.
And if we would like to make an agenda
Or you can-
change and
I know-
discuss the interview process so that we can get it corrected.
But it should have never
Well,
gone the direction that it's going.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Then we need to stop it and change it.
It's already
but
too late.
if we mention any names of the applicants
Jeff,
and we share the list they're given to us, that's closed session.
Well,
So
You want to discuss
there's been
the
names
process,
already
that's
leaked.
fine. Who leaked them?
that's a good question.
Well, so
That's a
then,
good question.
then let's make an agenda change. Let's discuss the interview process, get it done.
Calls all the time.
So let's get it done so we can move on with it.
I think you call Rachel in here right now, give us the process. She'll read it right off the sheet that we all have, and then we go back into closed session. That's my thoughts.
Let's get the product, but
Gentlemen,
then
what's
back to
your
the other
thoughts?
thing,
You wanna
Commissioner
bring Rachel
Kiefer,
in
what
and
else
review
on the
that?
closed session needs to be done in open session?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Commissioner Kiefer, what else in the closed session agenda needs to be done in open session?
What I spoke about was the county administrator interview process.
So that was the one,
We're gonna
so
do
that
that
was the
now.
one thing that I talked
I
about.
personally feel that that needs to be given due consideration more than just an impromptu discussion. It should have been an agenda item for open session. What can be discussed in closed session or not? I have a question. Is it fair that maybe one of the applicants has information on all the other applicants? I mean, that's something I would like discussed.
Then let's do it. That's what I'm trying to say. If you want to discuss without names, the process, I'm fine with that. But what I don't like when you sit there and you say, there's things on this agenda, and I say
Well,
there's one
okay,
point.
I'll
So there's one thing.
Let's just let Rachel explain the process and we'll go from there. We're still,
Discuss your thoughts on the process of the county administrator.
And it also goes back to the 3 items in Commissioner Klein's email as to why we needed to meet. And there's,
Yeah,
and that kind of burns me.
Rachel, we want to hear just the process, no names, obviously, just the process.
For
Well,
navigate that moving forward, if you don't mind. So the reason that this subject was brought forward to discuss is how do we move forward with the selection of candidates to be interviewed, the application review process to have a consensus moving forward as to which candidates receive interviews, and the number of interview rounds that would be used, as well as the timing for any background checks or any reviews of credentials, tuition, or transcripts request, anything like that that we'd be looking for. If I may, I will say that all of the information has not been available widely. There are very,
widely.
well, there was a comment made about information being shared inappropriately or possibly being leaked. I can address that, any concerns that you have individually if you'd like to speak about information that you have, but the information has been restricted with access, that it's under lock and key with limited individuals being able to access it because of that heightened reason. The reason that emails were forwarded to you as a commissioner group regarding that change in process was to make sure that that information was not shared or available to other parties, that there could be a potential conflict of interest or any kind of confidentiality concerns. I'd be glad to address any other concerns that you want to talk about with the process. At this point in time, the candidates that have applied, I personally sent emails to each of them to let them know that we have received their application, and that since we're in the midst of a state of emergency here in the county, as in so many other regions across so many other areas around our country are doing now, at this point in time, we will get back to them with next steps. But I wanted them to know that we've received their application and to make a contact with them and that we'd move forward.
First of all, I think it's good that you reached out to the applicants, or that someone reached out to say, hey, we have an emergency going on. Maybe this isn't a priority for county government right now, maybe getting to the point of some items on the agenda. But would you acknowledge that it's possibly true that one of the applicants has information on other applicants that applied?
Because there is a potential conflict of interest with who would have that information, that's why the HR director has it now.
Okay, thank you.
But who received that information first?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Who received the information first?
Based on the process that was approved to move forward, the information was all to be mailed to one specific location. The information was gathered,
Location, location/individual?
yes, here in the administration building. Are there any other questions I can answer for you on that
I
topic?
guess the rest of the process, everybody seems to want to know. You review applications and then,
So applications would be reviewed. There would be a first round of interviews. Now, when we first discussed this process, it was before our current state of emergency and the situations that we're facing now where we're asked to socially distance and we can't do face-to-face interactions. So my recommendation would be that we try to do telephone conference calls whenever possible versus having people come in and do a face-to-face interview, at least for a first round, to have a conversation with the candidates. Then there would be conversation about paring down that first group into a second round of interviews, and then we would interview the candidates then. Now, depending on what the situation is, because our days are changing, we never know what to expect from this week to next week. That might be another teleconference or maybe a video presentation, or if it's a small enough group, do we try to do something face-to-face? That's to be determined. But at least at this point in time, the recommendation would be a first interview, go through the candidates, and then move on to a second round. We also need to decide, would that be a panel of all 5 of you attending? Do you want to not be involved in all of the interviews? So that would be something that we would want to confirm moving
I would
forward.
think that all 5 commissioners should be involved in the interviews. I personally think we should definitely delay the second interview. I think that needs to be a face-to-face interview because you can tell a lot by the individual. But in this case and scenario, I don't think we can have that second interview depending on the situation. But we could be weeks out anyway from having that second interview. I think a telephone interview on the first one is fine. Conference call or video conference call.
Do you feel, in your opinion, that the process was tainted? In your opinion?
No, I do not.
Okay.
And my obligation and my commitment that I've made to you as a group, and we've talked as a panel as well as individually, is that everything is to be done above reproach and to be done fairly and accurately and in the best situation that we can.
Rachel, do you really think that that's an honest statement that you just made, given the fact that one of the applicants may have also been unfairly privy to the other applicants that applied? What if I was an applicant that applied, and I did not apply, by the way, and I did, and one of my competitors was for that position was able to see my application and other person's applications, but not me? Is that a fair process? Do you think that's above
Commissioners,
reproach?
Let me say this, if there was the intention on the part of some commissioners that a specific applicant should not have applied under any circumstances, that should have been made known. It was not made known. It was not made known. There was no acknowledgement that there was any restrictions on who could apply. And quite frankly, I think this is one more indication of the games that have been being played for the past 3 years. And we need to get beyond these games and work for the good of the county.
Rachel, do you have any more of the process to reveal to us?
At this point in time, I would assume that we'll put a hold on doing any kind of phone conversations so we can discuss questions and who that process. And because of the state of emergency that we're in, this is a priority, but it's not nearly as high a priority as taking care of our employees and making sure that the citizens are protected. So I'm assuming that we could put this on the agenda to discuss at a next upcoming
Well,
meeting.
Well, it's,
I'd like to make a comment here. Commissioners, this is our responsibility to hire the next county administrator. We should be doing everything among just the 5 of us, as, not that she wouldn't be very helpful in helping move some information forward and organizing interviews and things like that there. But again, it's our responsibility. They're going to be working for us. They're going to be her boss. So, and nothing against Rachel, but I think it's time that we take a stand and then the county commissioners decide if they're going to hire the person or if we're going to hire the person. They're going to be involved in the interview process or they're not going to be involved in the interview.
Well, that's what I said. I think the 5 of us need to do that. I think the 5 of us need to go down and go through the list and see who we want to interview and who we don't want to interview and do that. Get those scheduled so the 5 of us make that decision. And the comment that was made earlier is what I'm trying to figure out. If the 5 of us make that decision, and just the 5 of us, I'm hoping that we all can put aside everything and hire the best candidate, whoever it is. You know, hopefully we've all already looked at those applications and made our decisions on who we should interview and who we don't think makes the cut. But I do think that the 5 of us, like you said, Terry, need to come in and say, hey, this is who we want to interview. here's our stage one interviews. Go through those interviews. Who's our second level interview? I 100% agree with you. But I do think that we need somebody that is going to schedule those interviews for us.
And it should be, if we decide for her to do the scheduling, then her only. She's the only person.
It'll be you doing
I'm with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
references, background checks to whoever we select as candidates, correct?
Yeah, I thought you were just the facilitator and we're the ones making all the decisions on that. I think that's what we're trying to say.
Well, the point that I'm upset with is we've already, and I hate to use the word wasted, but spent an hour in there discussing the process on how we wanted to move forward. We all were unanimous, and now here we are back.
I don't understand that. I mean,
Well,
I don't want to
maybe you
hash
don't
this
want to.
forever, but I don't know what we said in there that we're not doing now.
Well, we said, you know what we said. All of the information was going to one department, one individual, and we were going to discuss it from there. And
Did you say it wasn't tainted, or in your opinion?
Come on, Randy, you're not.
Well, I mean, you think Rachel's,
Randy,
I trust
Randy.
Rachel.
Come on now.
So if I may,
Right, with
So-
the envelope sealed when you got them.
they were not. So I received them. The reason that I'm here in the capacity that I am, in the profession that I am, is to make sure I'm helping to protect the county, that we're making sure that we're doing things that are ethical, that are appropriate, that we're professional in everything that we do.
Okay.
So as soon as there was even a concern that was brought to my attention, I took appropriate action and I notified all of you to let you know what that
Thank you
process
for
was.
acknowledging that you had a concern. I think that's the crux of what we were trying to get at. You had a concern. I think it was a big concern. Thank you.
Okay, and then going back to giving court a compliment on setting our differences aside, hopefully we're all going to make the right, or do our best. We
At
may
some
not make the
point,
right.
we're gonna meet at all
But
five in
Court
closed
made a
session.
very good point there, that we need to do it as a group, we need to discuss it, and we need to set our differences aside, and hopefully hire the best individual that can guide Washington County, and
I don't think,
Commissioners, can I call for everybody to
I agree.
summarize their comments and agree to with her process? Is that okay?
well, it's our process.
Well, her process that we're directing her to do.
So I think, if I can summarize this, I think that we have the next meeting. If it's not done today, or if it's done at our next meeting, that the commissioners, the 5 commissioners, select which clients we're going to interview and which clients we're not going to interview. And then we can send it back for Rachel to schedule those interviews at our discretion. Is that agreeable?
agreeable with me.
And we would do the first interview by telephone.
First interview by telephone. It could be conference call or video conference call. I'm fine with either. Is that agreeable?
I agree with that.
And she's the only one that will let us look at the applications.
I mean, I've already went and picked up my applications.
I didn't want that. I thought, man,
All right, Commissioners, any more comments? Close out our discussion with agreement, the way we're moving.
Then I make the motion to go to closed session.
Second.
Can I say thank you for having this discussion in open session? I think it was important that we conduct this business. County administrator is one of the most important position in county government. Obviously, everyone is important, but that's the position that brings everything together, reports directly to us. So thank you for having
Yeah,
that
the process part's
conversation in
okay to
open
be
session.
public. It was under my thought that we were.
I will say it was still, the process was tainted.
If we were to
but-
discuss names today, that would have been if we were going to be given the applicants. So I have a first and a second. Any further discussion before we vote to go in closed session? Seeing none, all,
we need did we do a consensus on?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All in favor of going closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? 5-0. Thank you.